Prerequisite programs. This film provides an in-depth review of the factors and actions to be included in prerequisite programs. Prerequisite programs include mandatory conditions and measures to be implemented in order to ensure food safety and sustainability at all phases of food circulation. The implementation thereof means compliance with the requirements of the regulatory enactments and use of the best industry practices. Two types of programs exist. 1. Prerequisite programs which include basic conditions for ensuring food hygiene. 2. Operational or process prerequisite programs are introduced for the control of the most significant hazards. The programs must be commensurate to the size and type of the company. Responsible persons who monitor the introduction and maintenance of the programs must be appointed for the implementation thereof. Prerequisite programs apply to food enterprise production devices, equipment and processes required for production, which are as follows: buildings, premises and structure or zoning, plant and equipment, technical maintenance and calibration, cleaning and sanitation, procedures to control and prevent physical, biological and chemical contamination from the production environment, supplier control, control of temperature, waste management, pest control, personnel hygiene, training and supervision, working instructions, quality of water and air, traceability and withdrawal, allergens. Factors and conditions that must be considered in relation to each of the listed means of production, actions or processes shall be reviewed further in the film. Buildings, premises and structure or zoning. The following conditions must be considered during the assessment of risks caused by the location and surroundings of the company. Closeness of potential contamination sources, water supply, opportunities of sewage removal, electricity supply, availability of transport, climate and risks that may arise under climatic influences, for instance, possibility of floods and other risks. These conditions must be considered in relation to primary production. Areas contaminated during food production that require minor cleaning volumes must be strictly separated from clean areas that require thorough maintenance. Alternatively, the processes must be separated in time. The premises must be respectively equipped to ensure one-directional workflow. Insulation of cooling premises or heating devices must be ensured. Waterproof, non-absorbing, easily washable, non-slip material without grooves must be used as flooring material. Similar material must be applied on walls up to the appropriate height. The doors must have a smooth, non-absorbing surface. An option of automatic closing and opening of the door must be considered, thus preventing the contamination caused by touch. Sufficient lighting must be ensured at all premises, paying special attention to the lighting in the premises for food preparation and inspection. Light fixtures must be easy to clean and covered with protective covers that prevent the contamination of food with foreign bodies in the event of breaking bulbs. Ventilation systems must be clean to prevent them from becoming a source of contamination. A possibility of installing positive air pressure and air filtering devices must be considered at high risk or thorough maintenance premises where air control must be performed. Clearly separated warehousing premises must be provided for the raw materials, containers for the receipt of food, and packaging materials. Only the products that can be added to food, for instance food additives, must be stored in one area, excluding the possibility of storing them in the same premises with toxic products, for instance pesticides. The cloakrooms must be separated, clean and tidy. They may not be used as a canteen or premises for smoking. A possibility of separating daily clothing, clean clothing and used work overalls must be ensured. Doors of sanitary premises, toilets, may not open directly into the food processing area. Installing foot or arm pedals for the flushing of water is recommended, as well as the reminders of the need to wash hands must be installed in strategically important places. Equipment for the washing of hands must be located between sanitary premises, the cloakroom and food processing area. Equipment containing warm air blowers can only be situated in the premises where food is not present. It is recommended to install water taps that can be used without the need to touch them. Considering the technological processes of the company, the work premises are divided into areas. For instance, premises for clean and unclean works, receipt of raw materials, unpacking of raw materials, primary processing, packaging of final product or portioning, distribution of portions, etc. Plant and equipment. Production equipment must be made from appropriate material that is suitable for the manufacturing of the respective products. They must be easy to install so they can be easily cleaned and operated. Surfaces that come into contact with food or raw materials must be manufactured from materials that comply with hygiene requirements. Equipment, devices, monitoring and measurement devices, for instance thermometers, must be clean, suitable for contact with food products. The conditions must be improved and the factors that can cause food contamination must be eliminated. For instance, the following factors must be eliminated: dripping of condensate from the ceiling, accumulation of food residues in the slicing devices, contamination caused by raw materials by providing separate equipment for raw materials and thermally processed products, for instance, cutting boards, knives, pottery. Appropriate quantity of devices for the monitoring of critical parameters must be ensured, for instance, for the monitoring of temperature, time, and pH level. Technical maintenance and calibration. Plan for the maintenance of devices and equipment must be prepared in cooperation with the technical specialist. Procedures for emergency situations and breakages of equipment, as well as instructions for the preventative replacement of seals, washers, and other maintenance-related elements shall be included in the plan. Maintenance plan must be regularly updated, especially if production processes, product types, and personnel are changing. Updating must be performed no less frequently than once per year. A significant aspect in the control of food safety and hygiene is the calibration of monitoring devices. For instance, weighing scales, thermometers, flow meters. Calibration is performed by observing the requirements established by the manufacturer of the particular device. Cleaning and sanitation. It must be assessed and determined in writing what must be cleaned and disinfected, how often and how. Technical information on cleaning and disinfection agents must be available to employees who perform cleaning and disinfection. For instance, information on active ingredients, exposure time, and concentration. The following actions are usually performed: collection of visible litter, cleaning, rinsing, disinfection, rinsing. Other equipment cleaning agents must be used in less contaminated areas than the materials used in highly contaminated areas. Furthermore, the cleaning approach must also differ. Hot water must be used for cleaning as much as possible. Procedures to control and prevent physical, biological, and chemical contamination from the production environment. Written procedure that explains what must be done in the event of chemical, physical, or biological hazard. The description of this procedure must be made available to employees. Chemical contamination can arise from natural toxins present in fungi and berries, as well as other products of plant origin, residues of medication in raw food materials of animal origin, pesticide residues, contamination from packaging, and other forms of contamination. The possibility of the occurrence of such hazard must be assessed and appropriate measures must be taken. Physical hazard for instance, glass, plastic, metal, or other materials, control frequency must be determined by performing risk-based analysis. Biological hazard includes biological agents, bacteria, viruses, protozoa, and parasites, as well as bacteria that can cause intoxication and toxicosis, other diseases. Supplier control. Prerequisite program provides for a strict raw material supply policy, which includes agreements on raw material specifications, for instance, quality, microbiological or chemical criteria, hygiene provision, requirements for the introduction of the certified management system. Attention must be paid not only to raw material supplies, but also supplies of additives, auxiliary processing materials, packaging, and other materials that come or may come into contact with food. Irrespective of the agreement with suppliers and potential supplier checks, several aspects can bear evidence of their reliability and need to be assessed. Conditions at the warehouses must ensure that all instructions provided by the supplier are met, as well as the first in, first out (FIFO) principle, or first expired, first out, is implemented. It is important to ensure the possibility of performing an inspection from all sides, for instance, by not placing the cargo directly on the ground or at the wall. Control of temperature. Temperature and moisture degree must be registered. Installation of automatic alarm devices is recommended. Temperature fluctuations must be reduced as much as possible, for instance, by using a separate premises and freezer for the freezing of products and a separate one for the storage thereof. The power of cooling and heating must be adapted to the quantity of manufactured products. Product temperature during the production, storage, serving, and transportation must also be monitored. Verification of checks of measurement precision must be performed regularly. Waste management. Conformity with hygiene requirements can be best ensured and confirmed by introducing procedures for the utilization of each type of waste. Waste can include the following: animal byproducts, damaged food, chemical waste, unnecessary or used-up packaging, and others. The following is indicated in the description of the waste management procedure: responsible employee, method of waste collection, storage site, and procedure in accordance with which it is removed from the company. Pest control. Main attention in the area of pest control must be paid to prevention by implementing a series of preventative measures. The outer walls of the buildings may not have cracks or fissures. The surroundings must be clean and tidy. An opportunity to access areas to clean them must be ensured. Insect mesh must be fixed to the windows. If required, rodent control measures must be implemented by inviting competent companies and enterprises. Doors must be closed at all times, except the times when loading and unloading is performed. Unused equipment and premises must be clean. Personnel hygiene. Company management as well as personnel must be aware of the threat caused by gastrointestinal infections, hepatitis, and wounds. In the event a hazard occurs, the employee must avoid participating in food processing or use appropriate protection. In the event of health problems, employees must inform the responsible employee about their problems. The use of gloves suitable for contact with food is recommended, at least while preparing food that is ready to use. Gloves must be regularly changed. Hands must be washed prior to putting the gloves on and after removing them. Hands must be washed regularly, namely at least before you start work, after using the toilet, after breaks, after discarding waste, after coughing or sneezing, after work with raw materials. Where required, disinfection of hands must be performed in addition to washing. The need for employees to use hair and beard covers, clothing with increased degree of cleanliness, and as low number of pockets as possible must be considered. Employees must remove jewelry and watches. Consuming of meals and drinks and smoking must occur in separate and clean premises. The first aid kit must be easily accessible and, if required, available for immediate use. The number of visitors must be limited as much as possible. Before a visit to the production premises, a visitor must put on the respective protective clothing. Training and supervision. Employees must be monitored, instructed, and/or trained on the issues of food hygiene in accordance with their work duties. Businesses involved in food circulation ensure that their employees who participate in respective processes prove sufficient skills and awareness of detected hazards, if such are present, critical points in the process of production, storage, transportation, and/or distribution, as well as are aware of corrective measures, preventative measures, and monitoring and recording procedures that are applicable at the respective company. Employees whose work is associated with critical control points or who are managing critical control points must learn HACCP procedures in accordance with the work duties of the respective employees. Working instructions. Working instructions, including technological instructions, must be clear and simple. If required, they must be visible or easily accessible to personnel. The instructions contain indications that enable the employees to act in a manner that ensures the implementation of food safety provision measures. For instance, during cleaning or production time. The instruction of employees must be performed upon hiring them and periodically afterwards. Extraordinary briefings shall be conducted as required, for instance, if the production process or devices change. Quality of water and air. Only drinking water may be used to produce and process food of animal origin. In other cases, at least clean water must be used, or in appropriate cases, clean seawater. Use of drinking water is strongly recommended for the washing of fruit and vegetables intended for direct consumption. If necessary, air quality control is organized in a company, including microbiological air quality, yeasts, molds, and other indicator microorganisms. Traceability and withdrawal. At least the following elements must be included in traceability system and product recall procedures. Reason for the recall and summary of implemented measures. For instance, information on the product and batch, time, amount of returned products, information on whether the recall was successful, and measures implemented have satisfied supervising bodies and consumers. Product accounting, dispatch, and processing records. Recall and notification procedures, including contact information. Action plans. Product placement, distribution in the market, and guidelines. Distribution procedures. Contact information for customers and supervising institutions. The responsible person must be indicated in the traceability and recall program. Traceability and recall training is conducted at least once annually, during which the ingredients of the product that has been delivered to the customer are traced back to raw materials. Allergens. Since allergens are a hazard, the food safety management system must consider this aspect as well. After determining allergens that are important for each product, the preventative strategy can be developed based on two approaches. The first approach involves requesting the suppliers of raw materials and other ingredients to guarantee the absence of allergens, thus preventing the presence of allergens in the premises. Within the framework of the second approach, strict measures are taken to reduce cross-contamination to the minimum. While implementing this approach, allergen-containing products are separated from other products during storage and production. Separate production lines, containers and warehouses are used. In this film, you received in-depth instructions on the objective of prerequisite programs, development, use and maintenance thereof. No food company can operate without prerequisite programs. We don't work for one day. What we create today will be in use for future generations. We have to be aware of how to do it and to take care of these values responsibly.